Yeah, I just wondering because DTA is a powerful and popular tool in vSIM. I just wonder, do you have any observation or suggestion in which condition or project the static route will work more effective or efficient, and in which what kind of situation or project dynamic traffic assignment we should consider to use them?
Well, I would say if you can do it in vSUM with a static assignment, always do it in vSUM. So only if you need this, some specific effects of the microscopic simulation, like say vehicle actuated signalization and the cues that derive from that, or like transit priority, things like that, then you need the microscopic simulation. But dynamic assignment in vSIM is mostly a tool to get the routing automatically if you don't have it from somewhere. And you, for example, if you have a bigger network and you start working on that in vSUM, you can just use the vSUM assignment result, which is much faster and less work.
In the node displays, we can show average queues and maximum queues as part of the display options. We have some of our DOT partners have their own formula for calculating 95th percentile or some other length. Can we make that available to have a user-defined attribute that we can assign into that node, so it shows instead of the average queue, it shows our calculated value?
Well, we have these percentiles there if you use very short time intervals. Okay, then we would need to know about that formula, because usually the question is 95% of what?
Calculate that in a UDA. We can just assign that UDA to the display.
Right, yeah. Let me think. Yeah, the problem actually is that you probably need a data attribute, not a formula attribute, right? You want to calculate it somehow in a script or in an attribute modification and then save it for that turning movement. And that is actually something which is at the moment not possible. You only can have formula attributes which calculate from existing attributes of the turning movement. Yeah, that's on the list, and well, we make another mark there that someone requested it, because obviously you would like to have a room just to add your own result values to, well, the other result values from the simulation. Yeah.
I have a couple of requests for Vism. One is when making AVI videos, like the one I showed this morning, it would be awesome to be able to do a keyframe that would like hover above a vehicle and follow it through the network, as opposed to the one that's inside the cab.
But that should be possible, I believe. I think there is a parameter. I think there is an offset in C and probably axis, driving direction.
Okay.
Which you can enter. Maybe you need to activate that in the range symbol, so it's not a default attribute shown in the keyframe list.
Okay, so do the cab view, but then like offset it so it's above.
Exactly.
The vehicle.
So.
Okay.
And through that you can decide where that drone or whatever follows the vehicle. Yeah.
Okay. My other request is, I haven't done this in a long time, so maybe it's different, but I've completed DTA and my client wants me to convert it to static routes because that's what they're used to reviewing. When I do that, because I have separate matrices for cars versus trucks, I end up with hundreds of vehicle compositions because every single input has a slightly different composition for every time interval. Can I make it so that there's a separate set of routes for cars versus trucks based on vehicle type rather than making them all be one set of static routes? Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think we would need to add that option basically to say overrule that composition you have here from the matrices and overrule that by a user selected composition.
Yeah, to just convert one set of matrices or another or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Adam, I didn't want you to feel left out here, so I do have a vStroke question, and I apologize, I'm not a vStroke super user, so you might already have an answer to this, but the scenarios, is there a way to renumber them to put them in the order that I want?
It's on the list.
Okay, so move that up.
Also in Visit.
Yeah. So actually, yeah, we're looking into that to be able to renumber the scenarios and also add a scenario description and like maybe like a pull down menu. So you would have like kind of like a organizer. But yeah, it's on the list. It's ranked pretty well.
I have a couple of the feature requests. Sorry, just in time. A couple of feature requests for vSim. One of them I think is that if there's a way that we can see the demand on certain link, not the volume actually, how many vehicles are going to pass through that link at certain time interval. That might be something substantial, but that can be helpful rather because we can measure volume, but we cannot know the demand. But if this is something that we can incorporate in vSim, that would be very helpful.
Yeah, I think that's already on the list. Of course, you could run the whole simulation and with enough time after the edit at the end, and then have the total volume. So that might be a way to get it at the moment, but yeah, I know of that request and.
But yeah, thank you. And another one which is maybe simpler. I was working with a client that they were interested to see the simulation state at different times. So I was using the screenshot feature. So it would have been. I thought that it would have been very helpful if we had the time stamp on the screenshot as well, or if there was a way option that we can add like the simulation second to the screenshot.
You can. That's in the graphics parameters.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I already mentioned it, but attribute-based parking routes, yeah. Another check, or if it's from the same person, just make it darker. I also have one from Gustavo, which is for the wait behavior for parking routes. If there was some way to get a little bit more control over that, maybe they wait, but only up to a certain amount of time, at which point they're released from the route or something like that. Or if they wait and then they become stopped for a certain amount of time, just something so that we can have the vehicle stop and wait. And after they've waited 2 minutes, there's no point in still waiting to then move over one lane and wait 2 minutes.
Yeah, that's also on the list, as well as an option to define a specific route for just
the recirculation.
Yeah.
One question and then kind of one comment. First would be for vSim integration with signal heads. Being able to set certain pattern times for the OR signal group so that you could implement protected only during some time periods and then protected permissive during others. And you'd have more functionality for that. So I kind of thought about it, and it seems like the OR group would be the best way to implement that. Second, with just the traffic data imports to Vistro, being able to import in multiple hours into different scenarios could have a lot of benefits in developing, more than 1 hour or more than one time period, being able to export out to vSIM and static routes, stuff like that. So,
Well, that must be important because that was the third time you mentioned it in this conference.
yeah,
So
it counts as 3, right?
it's 3 separate.
It's
3
important.
separate times. Yeah, that's also one of those things on the list to kind of come up with this time slice concept where you could start building like 24-hour models from field data and also have different signal patterns and stuff like this. But like, as we mentioned, that's a big concept because it's kind of reinventing scenario management in some way. So we would need time. Yeah.
Any others? Well, we have 3 more, yeah.
All right, so currently we can select multiple elements and change the same attribute across all of them, say for links to change the names. For signal control elements, for like signal detectors, we can't do that. It would be nice to be able to select multiple detectors and change the port number or the controller or something like that. It was in several versions ago, and at some point it was removed, and it would be nice to have it back.
Yeah, I suppose it was removed because it didn't work. The problem with changing the channel number is that other attributes are the same for all detectors of one channel. I believe the smoothing factor or something like that. So that needs to be adapted. And so now if you, change multiple detectors to a new value, which one should you use of those other attribute values? But we'll have a look into it again and maybe change the concept there. That's a bit strange anyway, that there is data which actually belongs to, say, a detector channel object, which doesn't visibly exist, and that is somehow visible only in the detector objects. But that's the reason for it.
I got to follow up on Joe's request with the OR signal group. So that right now there's a display type that applies to both the regular signal group and the OR signal group. And I think I may have requested this in the past, but being able to define a display type for the regular signal group and the OR group independently. So I could have a green arrow type for the main signal group, and then either a green bar or a new display type that I'd like to have is a flashing yellow arrow. So when it basically gets the green indication from the controller, visually it's just showing a flashing yellow arrow. Because I have clients that, yeah, the green bar versus the flashing yellow is the same as far as results go, but they just want to visually see it.
Yeah, we also have the flashing arrow as some to put it in there some way already on the list for a few years. Another one.
This is for Ben. It's regarding the publisher. I just have a quick, a small request to add on top of that. Can you add the map 21 template dashboards so that can be like another selling point if I want to convince my client to buy that? Because right now what we are using to publish those dashboards for other cloud-based providers that can be very expensive. But if you can provide that, and with the publisher that we can sell, that we can share our model result, at the same time we can publish those map 21 dashboards.
want to give it to Adam. He's our publisher, product manager.
And I'll give it back to him. Yeah, we have been discussing about providing some sort of templates or some sort of like preset dashboards and things like that. And I mean, vSoup, and again, just keep in mind we started this out, so we're really collecting the feedback from all of the users that are talking to. So we're not creating something that's not going to be used. So that's one. But especially when we get into developing this further, I think something that was probably going to happen closer is that you'll be able to set up a dashboard and then copy it within your subscription to reuse it for other dashboards. The other thing we are currently working on right now is to change that data source. So if you set up a dashboard for like existing and you present it at a public meeting and they say, no, that's not how it works, you make a change, then you can change that data source and then reuse all of the information on the dashboard. So I think short term that probably will help, but long term having a good understanding of exactly what kind of templates customers and agencies and everyone's kind of requiring would be good, but we're just not quite there yet.
Oh, yeah. I'll add something too. Like, it's a new product, so please stay in touch and communicate so we can make improvements to the workflow together.
All right, we're gonna, oh, we have one last. Okay, this is really the die-hard group here, right? I mean.
Sorry, I thought of something else really fast. I would love in quick view, if I have multiple objects selected, it'll put in like an asterisk for things that are different. Sometimes I don't notice that. I would love it for it to tell me how many objects I have selected. I don't know if that's easy or not, but.
Yeah, possible.